WrestlingPodcasts.com proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us. Presented by KingofAmazon.com. When you think of Amazon, think KingofAmazon.com.
Before I get started on tonight's program, where I go ahead and review WWE's TLC pay-per-view for 2019, and we wrap things up basically on the year that is professional wrestling, I'm not in the festive mood. And it's just where I'm at this point of the year. The holidays, I don't know. I don't get into the festive mood. I'm not into the commercialization of Christmas. New Year's has never been a great time of year for me. And it's those things where I'm kind of just here and I'm searching for vacations, searching for a getaway just to escape and get out of where I'm at right now and unplug and unwind. And I really need that right now. And I haven't found any ideas of where to go and what to do. I got ideas, but the problem is I waited so late to go ahead and get put together for flights or hotels or any kind of getaways. At the moment, I'm in a tough spot with that. And I want to go somewhere where I know my money's going to go and stretch a long ways. And I haven't found any place where I can go with that. And that's where I'm at the moment. So if I'm in a negative mood right now, that's exactly why. Because I want to get away from all the bullshit right now. I want to go on vacation. I want to go away for a few days for vacation and just do something. I don't know what, but do something and get out. I don't know what to do. And I don't feel like reaching out to people to go ahead and get the word out there. If you have any ideas of a good singles guy vacation, whether it's in the USA or in the Caribbean or in Latin America, we'll just leave it right there. If you got any good ideas of where I could go do to really go ahead and, can stretch a dollar, find a great place to go get some food, relax, be treated like a king for a change, and just chill, that's what I want. That's what I feel like I want. And I want to be able to get laid. So the options of finding women out there that I can go ahead and score with, would be nice. The opportunity to do that would be also very nice. That's where I'm at right now. And I'm not sure what they're going to think of what to do, where to go and where to go, really, find something that will actually get me satisfied with all those things right there, so that I can come back into the start of the new year and then really just feel like, okay, I'm off and running. But when things start slowing down, not much else I can think of doing. That's where I'm at. Anyways, we'll leave it right there. We'll go ahead and continue on to TLC, which happened at the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota tonight. The card had 8 matches, 1 pre-show match, so 7 on the card. I really didn't care much for this pay-per-view. And again, I'm not overly excited about a pay-per-view like this anyways. It's just kind of here. It was not a very glorified or over-the-top, superly, really super built pay-per-view. It was just, okay, it's time for a pay-per-view, and WWE needs to put a pay-per-view together. We're required to put a pay-per-view on for the network. So it's our monthly thing. We have to deliver to the audience because they spend $10 a month, like myself, to watch the show. So we have to give them something that's a little extra special. And that's all it ever is. It's a little extra special. That has been the biggest problem right now. And I'll tell you, the network has been a good and a bad thing. I really wish that they would have kept a certain type of... But then again, there was no choice of what you could do when it comes to how the pay-per-view is going to go and be put together for what it comes down to it. There's just not much left. It sucks. Because the quality of the pay-per-views have gone down because of the fact of how they are... they're on the network. So if you already got people kind of bought into the network... What are you going to do that's going to be the premium to get more out of the pay-per-view? Unless they do the tiered platform. When they're going to start cheering out the premium pricing for the pay-per-views and all that. I just heard there's a free tier now for the network that you can find certain things you can watch for free to kind of tease you into the product. But there's nothing being made at a premium. There's nothing being put together to create the buzz, the viral ability. And you have to think about it like this. All right. When you look at the price points of the other pay-per-views this weekend and the price points of the other independents, the major independents and AEW, you have to think about it like this. AEW charges what, $49.99 for their pay-per-views? And they're only being done, what, every few months? So when they're doing that, yeah, they're charging a big ticket price and they have to deliver big time for their shows. And I feel like they are trying to put out more product that is a result of woven storylines and built up. The same thing with Impact Wrestling. You have long built, constructed storylines that are building to a crescendo. Whether it's the first time of a feud or a second match or a blow-off match, whatever it might be. I feel like the other companies are doing that. This right here, I get nothing of that feeling. There are no structured storylines that feel like that we're getting a good, well-constructed, built-out feud. None of these feuds we had tonight are really like that. Now, they kind of say, well, it's kind of being put together, but really, you don't have any callbacks to much of it. When you do, it's like not much. I mean, when I look at some of the matches we have, yeah, there are some storylines that come from it, but there's not much to it. Baron Corbin, the storyline with the dog food, it sucks. But they've gone on with that for a while now, okay? I don't like it at all. I hated every little bit of the storyline with Baron Corbin and Roman Reigns. I hated the whole thing. The dog mascot, the dog food, the handcuffs, all of that. Leashing the dog, the whole big dog thing. What a contrived, childish storyline that meant nothing. And look, everybody can go ahead and be a super fan of WWE and be happy. Oh, look, we got great work rate. It's like, well, if NXT gives us great work rate, then we'll just get the same work rate that we'll get for WWE, but we're getting the stars that have already been played out and booked over the top and overbooked and just saturated on our TV screens that we're tired of seeing, because every time you see a star come on, poorly booked, heel or babyface, and then they go ahead and get in the feuds and they're being parody booked, so there's nothing prestigious about those stars, then what are you going to do about that? The booking is bad. The storytelling is bad. The work is good. But I can't see them, WWE, doing what AEW and Impact Wrestling and MLW and others and NWA are doing a better job of. They put all three together: storytelling, booking, work rate. And the one that doesn't right now, that's also hurting just as bad as WWE, is Ring of Honor. And that's their own fault. They're in a tough spot. But also, the character development and who they have right now as stars is a tough spot as well. If you name me a promotion, I can go through storylines and I can go through feuds that I'm really enjoying, that have gone for a long period of time. Really, let's play this game right now. I want to play this with you. Impact Wrestling. I'm looking at Tessa Blanchard, Sami Callihan. Great. Awesome feud. And it's something different, something viral, something fun, interesting. And then you incorporate OVE. And then you incorporate other stars in the main event as they go along. But that's the focal point right now. Anything they put Rosemary or Havoc or Sue Young, that ongoing storyline, I love that too. It's not even a feud right now. There's not even a match, but that storyline continues to tell. And that's good. I enjoy it a lot. That's Impact Wrestling. Let me go to NWA. Nick Aldis, James Storm. What a storyline they told this past weekend, last night on Into the Fire. Aaron Stevens and the question mark, a well-told storyline. The introduction of these two together and the way they're put together and how they're doing things. The Allison Kay Marty Bell, Melina, Thunder Rosa faction. Fantastic. I love that story, how they've been telling it. It's wonderful. The Dawsons, Outlaw Inc., the Rock and Roll Express, and the Wild Cards. What a tag team storyline. And all those 4 teams are intertwined together and included. And they matter. MLW, Contra Unit. The damn feud with Jimmy Havoc and Mance Warner. And now Tom Lawler turning heel. What? Against the Von Erichs of all people. Fantastic. Again, great storylines, great storytelling, great matches. And AEW, Cody and MJF, I love it. Jericho and Moxley, I love it. And the Inner Circle, the building of the Inner Circle, the whole creation of it. I like that too. And if for some reason I actually kind of enjoy the Dark Order and I kind of enjoy the Nightmare Collective. I'm trying to figure that all out. It's intriguing me. It's giving me curiosity. Now, of course, the work rate, that lacks. Because they got a lot of indie stars that have not found their spot. They're getting to the main spotlight at probably earlier than they expected. You know, they didn't get a chance to go and get developed to get up to this point. So you got a lot of raw talent on AEW, along with a lot of good established talent that can actually roll. But that's what they got right there. That's an example. What do I have for WWE? Okay. So Kabuki Warriors, Charlotte and Asuka. So Charlotte and Becky. And by the way, so Charlotte lost to the Kabuki Warriors. Yes, it was in a 2-on-1 handicap. Becky the same way. And then Becky and Charlotte together, they lost. Charlotte and Becky, 2 of your top stars, and you have them lose? And so we're making the Kabuki Warriors, we're elevating them to a top level? And that's what they did. Is that what they wanted to do? Is that where we want to go? Are Charlotte and Becky supposed to take a notch down? I don't know. But that's where I feel they are right now. I mean, Becky's still the champion, but she lost. They both lost. Now, they didn't take a pin, so I guess because of the fact they took the ladder match and it was the way it was, okay, I guess you can put a benefit of the doubt there. Daniel Bryan coming back to attack Bray Wyatt, that's better. Probably the better storyline of anything they have right now. And I think they want to go and call back the Wyatt family when Daniel was a part of it for a short time when WWE was making a mistake. And the thing is, they're taking a mistake and trying to make good on it. Otherwise, what else? Of all the feuds they got. And I don't talk about NXT. Cole and Ciampa, that's a different story. Balor and Cole, you know, the whole Adam Cole, Undisputed Era, all the things that are going on with that. Okay, that's one thing. Rhea Ripley and Shayna Baszler, that's another thing. Okay, but really, and storytelling, there's not much, there's storytelling being told, but it's very simple. It's like UFC storytelling. It's like athletic storytelling, but it's not over the top creative. It's not over the top intricate, and I don't get a whole lot of suspense, passion, drama, something that stirs it up. I don't feel like I get a lot of that. Not enough. Not enough for my taste anyway. I like my wrestling with a little bit of, you know, I wanted to have, not a soap opera feel, but I do wanted to have passion. I wanted to have emotion. And I feel there's emotion on other storylines, but I don't feel like I get that from WWE because maybe the international audience, it just doesn't resonate. And they're not trying to do that. Plus, I think the company's just not able to do it. They don't have the type of people that will do that. Because remember, the Attitude Era was based on salaciousness. It was based on, like, shock and awe. Otherwise, shock and awe only could go so far. I mean, look, we're so desensitized right now by what we can watch online that seeing another table, ladder, or chair shot doesn't resonate anymore. To me, it doesn't. And remember, we just had War Games. So TLC compared to the War Games, nothing close. Not even comparable. Because they had to go so over the top and so desensitized and go so over the threshold with War Games, with the women and men. There were great matches, great pay-per-view, one of the best of the year. TLC could not compare to that. It could not be done. That's the problem here. So when I look at the matches and I say to myself, The matches were flat. It was glorified Raw and SmackDown with a couple of stip matches. That's it. Now, Humberto Carrillo and Andrade had another match. Maybe not the last of them, but Carrillo wins again. 12 minutes 45. New Day retain in a ladder match over the Revival. Never cared about this match. This feud is flat. And I don't know what to think, but New Day is just, it's kind of there. And the Revival, I feel like they're just kind of like on autopilot right now. They're doing good, but really, there's nothing to this. I saw the thing they were doing with Booker T during the pre-show, and I was like, okay, whatever. Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy, okay, we get this feud. It's pretty much done. Aleister Black has destroyed Buddy Murphy. Everybody thinking, oh, Buddy Murphy needs to be like the next big star. Wrong. After the superstar shakeup or the draft or whatever, no, nothing's happening with Buddy Murphy. He's just in the mix. He's just another mid-card guy. A mid-card feud that means nothing. And is Aleister Black going to get elevated at some point? I don't know. And I'm wondering if anybody's going to get elevated in this current Heyman era since things changed with the executive direction. Because Vince obviously still has his thumb on everything that's going on in this company. So everybody that thought the executive director thing was going on and Heyman had a lot of pull, no, never did. It's bullshit. It never happened. We're basically still in the same spot. Now, I think there's a few things that he might have put in Heyman on a couple different storylines to try to help things out. Double count out for the Raw Tag Team titles, Viking Raiders, Luke Gallows and Anderson. So we got this feud. I'm like, By the way, no Seth Rollins, no AOP, no Kevin Owens. Nothing about that. We had a package. Well, no, we had a highlight about it. Other than that, nothing else said. That whole storyline completely out of the whole picture. Okay. Then King Corbin over Roman Reigns. Corbin wins. So Roman Reigns, at this moment, if they're going to start pushing him, they're going to wait till the Rumble. Or wait till WrestleMania season and then start building him back up. But the deal is, you had your babyface thrown with dog food, chained, leashed, with handcuffs. You know, you had humiliated, embarrassed, and he still loses. And yes, it's because of the whole, everybody with Corbin's crew, Dolph Ziggler, Revival, and Robert Roode at one point, or Bobby Roode, you had all those guys overpowering Roman Reigns. So when does he get his comeuppance? We always talk about this is like a Triple H feud right here, where the babyface continues to get pummeled and pummeled and pummeled. When does he get his win back? When does he get his win back? Not the win he wins over like Dolph Ziggler or whatever on SmackDown. No. But when does he get his comeuppance? When do we finally see the face come back? Tonight, it was, Bray Wyatt beat The Miz, and The Miz was quick order, by the way. After all that was said and done, that feud and the way they got that started with for the family and all that stuff, Miz has no chance in hell to go and protect his family if that's the case. Are they going to keep that up? I don't know. But now we have Daniel Bryan back, and he looks like he did in Ring of Honor. Like he finally, all the hair taken off. I bet he's been asking to go and get that hair shaved down for a long time. That lumberjack look was like, he looked old, man. It didn't look as fresh, and the whole goat thing was not like being talked about anymore. So did he really need to stay where he was? And now the fresh cut looks good for him. Great. He's coming back now. Maybe people look at him in a different light. I think Daniel Bryan is getting, again, just the natural. Here's the thing, too. That Daniel Bryan has a natural pop. He is over. It's like they got him. He got himself over, and the crowd did get over with him. Kofi winning and taking the ladder match and being the one that took the belts down in the ladder match, that's good for him. So he's still being booked strong. Kofi's still being booked strong as the tag team champions. Kabuki Warriors, they're being booked strong, yes. And Daniel Bryan being booked strong. And so is Bray Wyatt. And the best part is Seth Rollins is out of the picture for all of that. That's actually pretty good. So I'll give it there. So there's actually a pretty decent story they did with Miz on SmackDown. leading up to Bray Wyatt in a short amount of time, over a couple of weeks. So they did the quick feud with it, and Bray Wyatt is made important because of where he's at right now. The other story is getting some play is Seth Rollins joining AOP and becoming an alliance now, and Seth turning heel. That's a story that's getting told. Is it very intricately well done? It's got some holes, but it's okay. But again, there's not much, and I really, with Seth Rollins turning on the crowd, well, it doesn't help much that he already turned on the crowd. The crowd already turned on him anyway, so he was already a heel beforehand. And now look where he's at. And it doesn't mean much when Seth Rollins turns heel. It's just we see him where he should be. He's supposed to be a heel. He's supposed to be the heel. Bobby Lashley over Rusev. So Rusev is happy. Rusev Day. I'm going to get no pay, no alimony. I get the divorce. Yay. So he gets that. But Bobby Lashley's the one that goes over. So if Bobby Lashley ultimately gets over on Rusev and becomes the bigger, better star, that's fine with me. Because Bobby Lashley really doesn't have much to do in this storyline except be the side piece to Lana, and that's been it. Preferred, I'd like to see Lashley finally dump Lana to the side after he already won the match and already got her a divorce and just screw her over. I'd rather that happen already and just do that. And that'd be fine to me. And then Bobby Lashley moves along and becomes something bigger. And by the way, no Drew McIntyre as well. Nowhere to be found. So many people we don't see here, which is really interesting. And like I said, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, losing in 20... And by the way, that match was long. That TLC match was long. And they put it together, and I'm like, again, you trying to put that match up against the women's War Games match? Not even close. Not even close. And I just felt like Charlotte and Becky doing these types of matches, these four didn't fit into doing extreme matches. Maybe a Money in the Bank match, but not, really the TLC matches for the women. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't feel good. It just, they don't need to go this route. I feel like you kind of go through that. I don't know. Maybe ladder matches, fine, but I don't see the TLC match. It doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't feel like much. And to see these poor women also getting thrown through tables all the time. I mean, Charlotte took a header. It looked like she took a bad hit to the head, even though it was on the padded floor after that table shot. But man, it's just not. I don't want to see the women going through that. I think the women. That's the one thing I always wonder. Do the women really want to go ahead and be a part of the extreme matches? Do they need to prove to themselves like, oh, we can do like the men and be hardcore? Do we need that as well? I would prefer the women just have good matches and not have to worry about the other stuff. Find something else that will make them stand out more than anything else. I don't know what that is, but it's not the extreme stuff. And I really do get tired of it sometimes. The extreme stuff, seeing all the different weapons coming in, it's, again, ECW made it so special. And it got so desensitized. WCW, they obliterated and they really just, watered down what was extreme. And WWE to some point did create some more extreme than that because they went over the top of what ECW did in some cases. But again, why do we need to keep stepping up the bar? Why do we have to keep raising it? I don't get it. And I don't care for it. Also, the KFC placement tonight, I wasn't big about that. Now, KFC, granted, they got to get themselves out there and they had the special table for everybody and they were just chomping down on KFC. That's great. But I did feel like, you know what? Just a table with a tablecloth. I mean, Cracker Barrel, when they do AEW, they put out a damn barrel. I would have preferred if the KFC gimmick would have not been the table with a tablecloth. It should have been made a bucket. They should have made it a bucket and do something where the bucket was like all styrofoam and somebody got thrown into the bucket. I don't know. Something like that would have been preferred. I don't know. Maybe fake drumsticks and like people get hit with the drumsticks. So it's like fake weapons. I don't know. Something like that. But the product placement was like, it was kind of there. I mean, you could definitely tell it was KFC. The red and white stripes, you can't miss that. I don't know. Just my thought. And that's it. That's what I got to say about TLC. Not much to be said. But this is indicative of what this product goes through. There's so many troubles to it. As I said before, the storytelling gets told behind these stars. The emotion, for me to care, for me to give a shit about what's going on, I don't feel it. And the truth is, I don't feel it for anybody right now. Maybe for Daniel Bryan, a little bit for Kofi Kingston. And then the NXT stars is a different story because it is a different department altogether. That's what I think anyway. So it's indicative of what this product has been going through throughout the year. As we've talked about here on this show, I got up to WrestleMania time doing the year in review through 2019. I want to go through some of it right now. Let's go and go through it. Okay. So when we get to WrestleMania 34, yes, Kofi Kingston, for however they booked that match, again, it was like by accident that Kofi Kingston gets into the match at Elimination Chamber. People get behind him. They want to see the Daniel Bryan moment with Kofi Kingston. Great. But then after that, they let him hold on to that belt for 6 months. And I'm like, wow. And I didn't think it was holding that strong. But, I mean, benefit of the doubt. People were happy to see Kofi, but nobody was really buying a lot of tickets to go see him. They were happy for him, but they were not truly supporting him like they could with merch or with ticket sales. And that was the problem, is that Kofi wasn't that big a draw. He's not a Roman Reigns draw. He's not, I guess, to an extent, Seth Rollins draw. He's not a Brock Lesnar draw. He's not a John Cena draw. He's not, and by the way, no Cain Velasquez to be seen, right? No Brock Lesnar to be seen of. No Tyson Fury. No Braun Strowman to be seen at all. All those guys completely off the grid. Keep that in mind, too. Again, the WrestleMania offseason, it's where they are at. That's what's most important. Let me proceed more with the year that was 2019. So then we started talking about Rebellion and seeing title changes for LAX and Brian Cage becoming tag champions and world champion respectively, And then we had Michael Elgin debut all of a sudden. And I'll tell you, Ring of Honor is probably hurting to not have him. No Big Mike. That's got to be a big shot in the arm for them. But again, Michael Elgin also burned his bridge in Ring of Honor. So, that's not going to happen. We did get Bray Wyatt being put together with the Firefly Funhouse after WrestleMania, which was good. We did get that happening. That was actually something significant to watch. Then we talked about how superstars were suffering from no storylines whatsoever. And then we were getting the Saudi princess asking for Goldberg to come for Super Showdown. Remember that? Undertaker, Lesnar, they wanted to spend big bucks to get them back over here. All that going on. And then I went ahead and talked about how WWE Creative needed a culture of change. That was on May 9th, I said. And I said that WWE has consumed various superstar requests for release, social, cultural conformity, and corporate cowardice as a result of all those different forms. And then I said that with Money in the Bank, the excitement of Money in the Bank, will that turn around the fans' fickleness towards the product? Meanwhile, the major independents were gaining momentum. Then, May 16th, I did that show when we talked about AEW on TNT. That they got their TV deal. It was time. And that's when the landscape was going to change. Talk about shake things up. AEW coming in had such a ripple effect on WWE this year. And they're never going to admit it. And they're never going to acknowledge it. The fans do. They notice. And I've never seen the fans all of a sudden turn. But it's because of the fact that it's like, and it's like a political thing. It really is. But the fans that do this, it's like really, they don't like change. They don't like things going back to the way it was. There's certain fans that just don't feel like they want to have wrestling the way it was, or some that had it a certain way. They just, again, they don't want to accept that somebody else came in as a rebellion, as a grassroots movement, and all of a sudden we're going to create a revolution. We're going to change things up, whether it's something that they really like or not, but they're coming in to disrupt. Disruption is what wrestling fans, and I feel like people that watch politics, when I looked at the Brexit thing and the UK elections and the US elections and all this bullshit, it's disruption that people don't like. Some people don't like it at all, but there's a lot of people that do. You know, there's a thing that I talk about, how people are expected to conform and they need to live a certain life. They should be a certain way and not question authority, not question authority, but question society, question cultural, social values, or when people are expected to, like, you're supposed to act a certain way and be apologetic and always try to improve yourself, make yourself a better person, right? Conformity. And it's cultural, social, corporate. Like, you're just supposed to go ahead and fall in line. And I don't subscribe to that. I never have. And wrestling was doing the same thing. You know, you have these upstart companies like MLW and NWA and AEW, and they're working their way up, and they're saying, okay, we're going to jump. We're going to push our way up. We're going to get ourselves somewhere. So they do. And then we go and step ourselves up, and we start seeing more about, okay, I don't know, it's very interesting. Impact Wrestling, on its really, Ring of Honor is where Impact Wrestling was at its worst. It really is. When you think about it, at the end of the Dixie Carter era, when Billy Corgan finally came in to start rebuilding kind of things up, right? They lost the Destination America deal, and things were in a tough spot. The early days of Pop TV, or a lot of the Pop TV era in general, right? Think about that. It was such a rough spot for that company. And then all of a sudden, here we are. Because remember, when they lost their Pop TV deal, things were in a rough spot. And then they dropped off. And Ring of Honor is in that spot right now. Without the stars, without the star power, without the momentum. And Impact, with the Anthem deal, found their way back and have risen back to certain heights. Again, they're back to a good spot with a chance to build themselves once again into something good, which is great. And I'm happy for them. It's a great thing to have happen. Moving along and making something of themselves. And the disruption, because that means the NXT stuff that everybody was all about, you know, the AEW fans in a bit of a cult-like following because they're upset and they're angry and they're bitter and they don't like the way the product's being done. And it is starting to feel like, and I'm not kidding with you folks, I feel like certain people, it's a cultural divide between AEW fans and WWE fans. It's the same divide that WCW and WWE had before. Because AEW gets the feel a little bit of a Southern brand. And I can see it's a working class brand. It's not the elite WWE big city brand. That's what it is. And I feel like that's what's going on. We're getting like this. It's a cultural divide. It's a divide of what people, the kind of people that would watch AEW and how they would be picked on and how they would be portrayed. It's almost like being called a racist. I'm not kidding with you. I don't care which side I'm picking on. I'm not picking anybody's side. I'm on the fence, but I really mean that. It's as if WWE people or super fans of WWE, they look down on AEW fans. Almost to a racial quotient. I am not kidding. I look at that on Twitter all the time, and I feel like people are acting like that. It's not good. And I'm not going to point fingers at anybody, but I feel like that's what we're getting, is that You have a bullying going on right now with AEW fans. But then the thing is, the AEW fans also ask for it. They are provoking. They are poking the bear all the time. So it's not that they're not without their own blame. The blame goes around both ways. No doubt about it. But there is this WWE fan base that is looking down, and they're kind of talking down to the AEW fans, whether they are justified or not. I don't care about justice. I care about enjoying professional wrestling wherever I can find it, whether it's the biggest major leagues out there or it's the lowest end of the product that I can watch on television. That's what matters to me. AEW Double or Nothing, they pulled off another event, the follow-up to All Out. It was great. People loved it. Competition's finally here, I said. Doesn't mean that the competition was going to be to the point of something amazing, but we just didn't know what was going to happen. But AEW Double or Nothing sent a message. And then the way WWE responded back was so corporate and stone cold stubborn. Because they didn't want to recognize it. They did not want to pay any kind of attention to it. They just chose not to. They said they don't want to do that. Okay. So all year long, NXT consistently delivers. Bravo. TakeOver consistently delivers. Bravo. Then Jon Moxley in June, he exposes. And several of the times where we saw certain stars expose their companies, where Joey Mercury exposed Ring of Honor late this year. Jon Moxley exposed WWE to a lot of the things that we thought were true, and he actually validated it all. We were all right about that. And then from there, I continue to talk about WWE wallowing in weak feuds. And then I kept trying to give solutions throughout the month of June into the summer. I mentioned that WWE lost its primary function to entertain wrestling fans. And that was from Lars Sullivan. Remember, he said that in that infamous promo with Kayla Braxton, right, in the ring? And then I said that about how WWE might try to resurrect Attitude to appease the USA Network. And that the major independents were taking advantage of the weak TV product. And then moving along into June, I also mentioned how, again, I mentioned a story about how Blake Ostrander from Forbes.com, he wrote and said about how I wouldn't have a problem with Shane McMahon because at the point he was working with Elias and Drew McIntyre. And how well did Shane work out for all those guys, for the feud with the Miz, the feud with Sami Zayn, the feud with Kevin Owens? What did that do? Shane McMahon, what did he contribute at all this year? Jack shit. His spot ruined more talent in 2019 than anybody else. He was the biggest killjoy of anybody this year. Even more so than Seth Rollins. By far. Take that to the bank. And I even mentioned we should have the McMahon family in a storyline where Vince is made to be looked out of touch with the company direction. Hunter is a face of the company, stuck in a McMahon family triangle, or he is a baby face in this point. Stephanie left in the gray area, torn between supporting her husband and her dad. Make the scripted promos a focus. Superstars don't even about last minute changes. They get last minute scripts in their hands, being forced to read lines that will light the fuse for some heated feuds. Did they do any of that? No. How about bringing back some legends to go ahead and get under contract to do something more with them? Booker T, Mick Foley, Undertaker? No. They didn't want to do any of that. But I thought it was a great idea. But again, I was trying to be constructive. Because one thing I've learned this year is that in my life, I think there's something I want to be making sure I do more of. Whoever I work with, whoever works for me, and however I do things. More constructive, less critical. It's a good thing to learn. If you want to take that and apply it to yourself, feel free. And then I mentioned SummerSlam season starting cold because of Stomping Grounds. Stomping Grounds was horrible. And I think we should never get that pay-per-view ever again. It was so bad. We all know about that. And then June 26th, and I'll wrap it up right here, the creative crisis of 2019. What's the real problem? I said on June 27th, this is what I wrote. I dictated the following notes before I recorded the show. WWE is very bad right now. But we remember what WCW was at the end of its run. WWE had a plan when they were going to lose the star power that carried them to WrestleMania. In December, the McMahons planted the seeds by promising to give the fans what they wanted. They crowned champions that fans are behind, but their opponents have been mostly the people we didn't want to see them work with. Storylines are weak at best. The lackluster effort being made for their respective pushes are bad because these are not the people that the WWE wanted to push. That's why the current champions at that point were mediocre across the board. Past post-WrestleMania gimmicks of celebrity guest hosts, Vince McMahon's $1 Million Mania, and guest general managers are over. And they're not coming back. WWE has nothing to cover the lack of main event talent because they've kept wrestlers on the same level. No doubt. WWE has brought incredible talent into NXT, and we can't say enough about it. We give the praise to it because they deserve it. No doubt. Hunter's trying to bring in the best free agents, but they are absolutely not the people that Vince wants because the NXT talent do not fit the classic mold of WWE superstars who are bigger, stronger, and larger than life. By the way, what do? Once they got done what they're done at NXT, has NXT really stepped up and become any bigger? All that's really happened so far because of NXT getting that rub from Survivor Series. Well, they kind of solidified and reestablished their ratings to where they were before AEW came into play because they were getting about 1 million people watching the show to about 900,000, excuse me. And then the same thing now. Now they're around 800,000, 700,000. So they're in a stable spot. But that's because the company reestablished them. But did they get any better? No, they're at the same level. And even with NXT getting infiltrated into Raw and SmackDown, what do they do? Not much, because everything's at the same level. Nothing grew out of that whole NXT invasion. Nothing truly significantly changed. Therefore, those stars in NXT, no matter how good they are, they're not ready for prime time, not ready for the big stage on Monday or Friday nights or pay-per-views. They got onto those shows, but they're not meant to stay there because they're not Vince's guys. They're Hunter's guys. And until then, Hunter's probably stuck in a spot where he can't do much more with them. And Paul Heyman is also stuck in a spot where he can't do much more with those stars either. And so I also said that all the wrestlers can validate being in WWE because they're getting the big league rub, by being in the company, even if it's at a bad point. Because then you ask yourself, like, okay, the validation's there. People are getting paid. But then you got to ask yourself, all right, now that we see some of the releases coming up, we might see more. Sin Cara now, he went over to Lucha Libre. He's working again. Probably will do okay when it comes to making money. Probably won't be in the main market here. Maybe we'll see him a little bit in North America because AAA and New Japan want to get themselves an American influence. They want to get a presence here of their own, which we're trying to work on. Then you have Luke Harper. We don't know what is going to happen with them, if they're going to be able to do anything. The Ascension, I don't see them coming up or popping up anytime soon anywhere else. So that's kind of the thing we have. And they're looking at the major independents someday, but now they believe there is a legitimate alternative to WWE. There's a new promised land of big-time wrestling. Today, when a wrestler wants to come back to a major wrestling promotion after working in the major independents, they will come with a chip on their shoulder. But they might not opt to go right away to WWE. They could choose instead to choose AEW. But we keep an eye on that because, again, AEW has been able to more or less achieve the expectations that people hoped for. And they overachieved the people that, helped their content. The TNT folks. I think they're getting a little more than what they expected. So that's good for them. And that's where things are right now. We're going to leave it right there. We'll then go into Fighter Fest and Fight for the Fallen and all that stuff. Creative changes. We'll get all that going on. And then we'll move along to Slammiversary and Extreme Rules, all the AEW stuff coming up, leading up to, and then what I'll probably do is I'll probably do one more episode of the year in review or another portion of the year in review where we'll talk about the TV deals and the real expanse and the real change of everything going on in the last 3 months to get to where we are. But anyway, I got us to July. We'll leave it right there. And we're going to come back and do another Wrestling Goes Over podcast in a few more days. We'll do it on Wednesday, going into Thursday. See what the fallout is from Raw, AEW, NXT, Impact Wrestling, whatever else I can get myself watching beforehand. We'll leave it all there. I think we get a new NWA Power after that as well. Fallout from Into the Fire. That's going to be great. I got MLW to watch. I haven't had a chance to watch that yet, so I got a lot of wrestling to watch yet as of yet. A lot of pay-per-views to go through this weekend, so there was really, I enjoyed them. I mean, I really enjoyed, I thought Ring of Honor Final Battle was okay. Wasn't impressed by it, but it was fine. Into the Fire blew my mind. It was great. And TLC, it's just more of the same. And I watch more of the same. I'm content with it. It works for me. I don't, I expect better. From a company with this much size, that much power, and that much influence, and that many resources, and that much talent, they should be much better where they are. They're so underachieving right now. Underachieving more than you just done. AEW, in a way, with what they have for talent, is overachieving to a point. I really feel that. So anyway, we'll come back. Join me for another Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
Thank you for listening to the Wrestling is Real podcast, brought to you by KingofAmazon.com. Help support the King of Podcasts. Shop now at KingofAmazon.com.